Explosives are used throughout the mine in a whole lot of different areas. Now, whether you're underground or on the surface, we need to know what they look like. We need to be aware of what explosives are and how to treat them. Mount Isa Mines is in the business of making sure that all personnel use explosives in a safe and efficient manner. In fact, we have a special safety statement covering explosives. I'll read it to you. All personnel who work on the surface or underground, or visitors entering specified areas at Mount Isa Mines, must not handle or use explosives unless they've been trained and assessed competent in the handling and use of explosives. All safety rules and regulations pertaining to explosives must be strictly followed at all times. This video is not meant to take the place of proper structured training from your supervisors and training staff, but we are going to cover what explosives look like, what they are capable of doing, and some of the important points and rules. Remember, explosives are very powerful materials, but if you follow all the safety rules and recommendations, you can control the way they work. Explosives come in all different shapes and sizes. We have detonators, detonating cords, cast primers, emulsion type explosives, these sort, and the ANFO type products, which are usually in large bags. Here are a few samples of what type of detonators are on site at MIM. The main thing to notice is the aluminium shell at the end. Whether it's an electric detonator or a non-electric detonator, they all have this shell on the end. Now, this is the business end of the detonator, where a small but powerful amount of explosives is packed in. Dets are pretty sensitive to because there's only a thin layer of aluminium separating the explosive from the external environment. The main thing to remember is to keep them in a protective bag and to guard them from impact, heat and electrical discharge. These bags are specially designed to carry explosives. So if you see one of them hanging on the job, you know to be aware that there are explosives around. Do not use these bags for storing any other material. The same goes for explosive boxes. They're an approved explosive storage container, but they must not be used for storing other goods. If you treat explosives right, then they'll treat you right. Detonators come packed in a cardboard box which looks something like this. If you see them on a plat or in a drive, don't disturb them and don't smoke within 6 metres of them. Detonators are used in every firing at the mine in one form or another. Let's have a look at what they can do. So remember, dets are the most sensitive explosive you will come across at MIM. As long as they're handled with care and respect, they will not cause you a problem. Another type of explosive is detonating cord. Some people think that this is just a fancy sort of rope, but you'll see, it's not. That was just 10 metres of detonating cord going off, and because it fires so quickly, no concussion. Detonating cords come in all thicknesses and colours, but they're all made up the same. They have a core of explosive inside the plastic or fibre outside, and although it's only 5 or 10 grams per metre, it sure packs a punch. The main thing to remember is that det cords, while not being as sensitive as detonators, can still be set off by impact or friction. Now, a few precautions using and handling det cords. Only use a sharp knife or special det cord cutter for cutting det cord. Rocks, hacksaws and side cutters have the potential to initiate cord and a certain outlook on life. Also, buckets on the units and baskets on the charge-up vehicle can scrape det cord across a face, setting it off for sure. And remember, even though you might only be cutting 1 metre of cord, there may be a concentrated explosion from the other 499 metres left on the reel. Imagine this going off at your feet. Primers are the solid cylinders of explosive that ring firers use to initiate the blast holes in rings, benches and windsors. They also come in many shapes and sizes, but are all basically the same composition. Cast primers are packed in cardboard boxes and clearly marked as explosives. Although they look pretty harmless, they are very powerful. Cast primers are impact, heat and friction sensitive as well. They have even been known to detonate when run over by trucks and units. Emulsion explosives. Usually they come as sausages here at MIM. These are not as sensitive as the others, but when they go bang, they really hit hard. So the main thing to be careful of is that you look after the package emulsions when they're made up as primers. For this reason, primers should not be left lying around in the drive. Make them up just before you pop them in the blast hole. Unlike old nitroglycerin-based explosives like AN60, emulsions get harder as they get older. So if you find some hard plugs, put them aside and don't use them. They could cause misfires. The last explosive that I'd like to talk about is the ANFO type product. As you can see, they come in plastic bags like this. And don't let the colours fool you, because you must remember they're still explosives and must be treated with care and respect. There are two main things to realise with ANFO type products. The first is that, like all other explosives, they can burn and explode in certain conditions. This is why we have safety rules like don't smoke within 6 metres of explosives and don't fight explosive fires. Fires and explosives make a very unpredictable time bomb. The second thing to remember is that although ANFO is pretty insensitive, if you accidentally fire some detonators, primers or detonating cord, you could set a very chain reaction, which ends up setting off a very large charge. When you think about it, there is very little difference between this pile of ANFO, cord, primer and dets and this. That gives us a pretty good rundown on the types of explosives used here at MIM. Now the things to remember so far are some explosives are more sensitive than others. Identify the different types of explosives and what they look like. And appreciate the extensive personal damage that can occur with irresponsible use and handling of explosives. Now, the second part of this presentation is to talk about a few of the golden rules of explosives and explain how they came about. If you remember the MIM safety statement that we talked about in the beginning, it's not just a good idea to follow the explosive rules, but you're obliged to by company policy and the law at all times. Golden rule number 1. You must be authorised to use and handle explosives. Being authorised to handle and use explosives means that you're trained and assessed as a competent person with explosives. Being trained makes you aware of the precautions and care required with explosives. In short, it protects you and your mates from explosive accidents. And when there is an accident, it usually isn't small. Golden rule number 2, theft of explosives. As with all company property, it's illegal to walk off site with property which does not belong to you. Stealing explosives is a very serious offence. Once explosives leave the strict control of the mine, accidents are very likely to happen. With stolen explosives, it's often kids that end up with missing fingers or worse. Remember, explosives are a whole lot more powerful than you might imagine. Golden rule number 3, explosive fires. As we touched on before, fire and explosives don't mix. If you accidentally start a fire from welding or cutting or smoking, and then one thing may lead to another, and the explosives may start to burn, they may lead to detonation. If this occurs, don't fight the fire, evacuate yourself and all of your mates from the area and make sure others can't enter. As with all other fires, put up an effective barricade and call 222 immediately. Golden rule number 4, ensure explosive vehicles are in good condition. If there's one vehicle which should be in good condition, it's the explosive vehicle. Apart from following all of the normal pre-start checks, check that the explosive vehicle has a red flashing light and the approved explosive signs. Golden rule number 5, correct on-the-job storage. If you're on the job and charging up with explosives, you are responsible for the explosives in your care. It's up to you to make sure that you store detonators and explosives properly. For a start, they should be 6 metres apart. A red flicker light shows everyone else that there are explosives there, and signs and barricades prevent others from walking or driving in on an explosive job. It's best to hang explosives off pins in the walls, especially detonators, to prevent them from accidentally being run over. So that concludes a basic rundown on what explosives are here at MIM and a few precautions in their use and handling. Remember, this does not take the place of properly structured training. If you want to know more or have a question, ask your supervisor. Above all, get into the habit of showing care and respect for explosives. And make sure that the only bang you have is a controlled one.